Electricity doesn't magically appear at your socket. It begins at power plants, travels hundreds of kilometers through transmission lines, passes through substations, and is finally delivered safely to your home. In this video, we'll quickly explain how electric power flows from generation to distribution, and how the modern grid is evolving. In the late 19th century, a famous rivalry known as the War of Currents took place between Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse. Edison championed direct current, or DC, but Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla advocated for alternating current, or AC. AC eventually became the global standard because it could be easily and efficiently stepped up to high voltages using transformers, which solved the problem of massive power losses during long-distance transmission. Unlike DC, which stays constant, alternating current varies its magnitude and direction cyclically, usually in the form of a sine wave for maximum efficiency. Standard frequencies are 50 or 60 Hz, a standard that allows various power plants to interconnect on a single grid for economy and security. When we measure AC voltage for domestic use, we use the root mean square, or RMS value, which represents its effective heating capacity compared to DC. The delivery of electricity typically happens in 5 stages. It starts at the generating station, moves through primary and secondary transmission for bulk transport, and concludes with primary and secondary distribution. While some smaller schemes might skip secondary transmission, this 5-level structure is the standard blueprint for making energy reach the load point safely and in a usable form. Generation occurs at power plants where 3-phase alternators convert mechanical or primary energy into electricity. Typical generating voltages range from 11 kilovolts to 25 kilovolts. We generally don't generate at higher voltages right away because the cost and size of the equipment and insulation required would be astronomically high. After generation, step-up transformers increase the voltage to extremely high levels, sometimes reaching 765 kilovolts. This is essential for efficiency because doubling the voltage allows the same cable to transmit power 4 times the distance with the same loss. By increasing voltage, we lower the current, which drastically reduces I²R power losses caused by the resistance of the conductors. A helpful way to visualize the transmission network is to compare it to a national motorway system, carrying vehicles of electricity at high speeds and high voltages across the country. These lines are often highly meshed, meaning they are interconnected, so that if one line fails, power can be rerouted through another path to maintain reliability. Substations are the transition points where transmission meets distribution. They use circuit breakers and switches to disconnect lines for safety or maintenance. Their primary function, however, is voltage transformation, using transformers to step down high transmission voltages to medium voltage levels suitable for neighborhood lines. Secondary transmission moves power from large receiving stations to substations located closer to load centers. These lines bridge the gap between long-distance bulk transport and local delivery, typically operating at voltages like 33 kilovolts, 66 kilovolts, or 132 kilovolts. This stage ensures that power is gradually brought down to a practical level for distribution. Primary distribution lines are medium voltage circuits that fan out from the substation to reach end users. Most of these circuits use a radial system, which is arranged like a tree where each customer has a single source of supply. While radial systems are more economical and easier to protect, they do mean a single fault can interrupt service for all customers on that branch. Located very close to your home, distribution transformers perform the final step down to a low utilization voltage. You will see these as units mounted on poles or as pad-mounted boxes on the ground. In North America, one transformer typically serves a small group of 4 to 20 homes, whereas European transformers are often much larger, serving several hundred houses. Secondary distribution is the final stage of delivery. It consists of the low-voltage circuits that connect the transformer to the customer via feeders, distributors, and service lines. The final connection to an individual home is called a service drop, which carries the electricity through your meter and into your residence.
Residential voltages vary by region. North America uses a 120/240-volt split-phase system, while most of the rest of the world uses 230-volt single-phase. Safety in the home is maintained through grounding or earthing, which provides a safe path for current if a fault occurs. Systems are also protected by fuses, circuit breakers, and RCDs that can trip the circuit to prevent injury. The smart grid is a modern evolution that integrates two-way communication into the power system. Smart meters allow utilities to identify outages automatically and permit consumers to participate in demand response programs. This means you can monitor your energy use in real time and potentially shift your consumption to off-peak hours to save money.
The future of power is moving toward decentralization, with more energy generated by distributed resources like rooftop solar panels. We are even seeing the rise of vehicle-to-grid, or V2G technology, where electric vehicles act as mobile batteries that can feed power back into the grid during peak demand. These advancements aim to create a more resilient and sustainable energy landscape. To summarize, a power system relies on several critical components. Generators act as the primary supplies, while transformers adjust voltage for efficient travel. Conductors, overhead or underground, physically carry the energy. Protective devices like fuses and breakers prevent damage, and SCADA systems allow for remote monitoring and control of the entire grid. Finally, capacitors and reactors are used to maintain voltage stability and manage reactive power.